Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, we're going to be talking about why I was wrong about Jing Yuan, or not really wrong per se specifically about Jing Yuan, but more so why the whole Erudition class as a whole has kind of been outclassed or is going to be outclassed. So it kind of makes my takes about Jing Yuan wrong, because I do think the Erudition class is going to be outclassed, outmeted, power crept in the next couple of updates when Kafka comes out, just because some of the things they have changed and done to the Nihility class that just ultimately makes them better. It's really one change that they did to make the Nihility class much better as a whole, and it just kind of makes the Erudition class pointless at this point. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and talk about why the Erudition class is gonna be kind of pointless, why Jing Yuan is kind of gonna be useless, and yeah, all the reasons that kind of tie into this. So guys, first things first, let's go ahead and talk about the main thing that kind of is killing off the Erudition class right now, which is the buff they did to Nihility. While this is not a direct buff to Nihility, what they did was reduce the amount of effect resistance that enemies have, and this applies to all enemies over level 50, so this means they have a lower effect resistance rate. Alright guys, so as far as like the buff for the Nihility class here, guys, what it used to be was increased the effect resistance 0.5% per level from level 51 to level 100, and had a max of a 25% effect resistance after that level. And the new rate for that is going to be 0.4% per level from level 51 to level 75, so it's decreasing the maximum level of which the actual effect resistance grows by, and it caps it out at level 75. So that's your cap level now, and it reaches a maximum of 10% instead of the 25%. So that's a 15% decrease in the max effect resist rate of the enemy, meaning now the top effect resistance rate other than the Doomsday Beast is going to be 30% instead of 45%, guys. And you might not think a 15% decrease is that much, but it is actually a lot. For example, Silverwolf before this needed like 120 to 130% effect hit rate to hit their ability every single time. Now for Silverwolf, all you need is like 111. So yeah, it just helps out a lot as far as like building your characters out. You don't have to have all these max rolls, and it just helps them overall. So they're able to hit their debuffs off a lot more often and a lot more efficiently. And if you don't know who the Doomsday Beast is, that's the Doomsday Beast, the big dragon guy, one of the weekly bosses. But guys, you really don't need like debuff on him anyways, because he doesn't attack you. The antimatter engine is going to be dropped to 30, the same as Kakolia as well. So yeah, that's just really nice too. So talking about the reason now why Erudition is going to be outclassed by Nihility is because Nihility already does AoE damage. They do have a decent DPS. When Kafka comes out, that's going to be a lot more DPS, and also they're providing more debuffs to the enemies, where Erudition really just hits AoE targets and doesn't really do that many debuffs aside from Serval, which shocks all of the enemies. Yeah guys, the Erudition class is just going to be kind of insane now, because the whole class was held back by effect resistance. If we look at any of the Nihility class characters, for example, Sampo here is going to be having wind shear applied to the enemies. This is going to be helping him do his wind shear damage. This is also going to be allowing him to put his debuff for increased DOT on targets. This is going to help Halo as well as far as her defense rate goes. And on top of this, guys, it's going to actually be increasing the amount you can freeze enemies with Pela as well. This is also going to be helping Silverwolf as well, because literally her whole kit is just applying debuffs to the enemies, whether that be her talent, her skill, her ultimate doing defense shred, or her skill which applies a weakness to the enemy. And also Welt with CC for crowd control aspects. You can lock down the enemy more so with this as well, because like I said, it's going to be decreasing their effect resistance, meaning now it is a lot easier to get a character, and this applies to all characters in the game, not just Nihility, but Nihility just takes the best of all this. Allows you to build less effect hit rate into these characters and get their debuffs off 100% of the time. So now that you need less effect hit rate on these characters, you can build more into attack, more into speed, and more into other stats in general, just to get their abilities to hit harder, especially like Sampo with his DOT with wind shear. When Kafka comes out, her electricity damage or shock damage she's gonna have. Yeah, it just, oh, he has money in his hand. You know, he stole that from me. He just stole that right from my pocket right now. What the fuck's wrong with you, Sampo? Anyways, yeah, guys, you just need to build less into it now than you would need to before. And with that being said, this is the main reason why I think Nihility is going to overtake Erudition, because Erudition really only does AoE damage, whereas Nihility now is going to have a higher chance to stack debuffs on the enemy. They do AoE damage, and not bad damage to that. They're going to be giving damage over time for the most part, and just overall, I think it's a better class to have in the game. I think it's just overall a better class. I think that the Erudition class has been power crept by this. And finally, another reason why I think that the this is going to be outclassed is team building. team building is going to be a lot simpler now, guys. Like, let's just say that Pela is Silverwolf, for example, right? You could technically run a tank 2 Nihility and a DPS. You could run a tank triple Nihility whenever Kafka comes out if you wanted to do that. It just changes things up. Instead of having to run like your standard comp with like, say, like a tank, a healer, a harmony character, and your DPS here, or a quote-unquote hyper carry comp where you have a tank, 2 of your harmony characters, and then your DPS character. Instead, now you can just build a team with triple Nihility characters and get really good damage output out of these 3 Nihility characters, guys. Like, it's the meta has just been broken for like Memory of Chaos and stuff like that. So now you don't have to focus on having, say, 2 healers. You know, you could run now like a Japard on a team, a healer on this team, and then 2 Nihility characters, and not have to worry about like a buffer or anything like that. Or you could run, you know, 1 healer on the team and then triple Nihility. Or you could run 1 tank like that, be a Japard and triple Nihility. Like, you can spec it out to be that way now. So really all you need now is just a healer and a tank. You don't need all these extra buffers on your team. You can use all these buffers for your second team now. This just opens up a separate avenue now that you can run in the Memory of Chaos to have a lot better time and a lot easier time in the Memory of Chaos actually doing things. And now you might say like, oh, Jing Yuan can still be used. And while, yeah, you can still use Jing Yuan, a better option for you to use if you have them would just be Zila on the team, where you can now have a team like Japard, Asta, Tingyun, and Zila to really buffer up, or maybe even a Bronya here if you have Bronya. I don't have Bronya, so L me, I guess. And then on your second team, you could run a team like this, where it'd be Fire, MC, Pela, Sampo, and then Kafka here at the end, or Silverwolf in the comp if you have Silverwolf. I don't have Silverwolf because I was unlucky as hell. Yeah, so I mean, you could run a team like this, or you could even run a Hunt character here as well, but you don't have to run these 2 buffers now because the Nihility class has just gotten so much more powerful. Their effect resistance can literally just help you out a lot more. Like, you have a lot more freezes with Pela, you have a lot of freezes with Yangqing here, because you're just freezing the enemy a lot more, because like I said, the effect resistance of the enemy is decreased. So that means it's going to be easier to freeze the enemy, it's going to be easier to defense shred the enemies, it's going to be easier to get wind shear on the enemies, you'll be getting more damage out of the wind shear, you'll be getting more damage from the freezes, just overall a lot more damage from characters that debuff in the game. The only thing you're really getting with Jing Yuan is just shield break damage. You'll get a shock debuff on the enemy, but that's really it. So yeah, guys, this is why I really just find the Nihility class to honestly just outclass the Erudition now. They're gonna have to do something really big for the Erudition class to actually make it really good again. I'm not saying that Erudition is going to be a non-viable comp to run. I'm just saying that Nihility is overall just going to be better than Erudition. So I mean, if you're pulling for characters, it'd probably be more effective to go for an Nihility character over an Erudition character, just because they're going to be hitting more damage, doing more for you, and you'll just be getting more bang for your buck. Now, this could change in the future depending on what they do to the Erudition characters, but yeah, like I said, guys, overall, I just think right now that they got power crept really hard, and I just think Nihility is going to be the king of Memory of Chaos now, which is the hardest content in the game, which is the main thing you should be focusing on doing in the game as far as completion goes. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later. Bye-bye.